anyway, is where we are today.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Hey, I'm as bald and round as the logo for Chrome. Google Chrome.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Just call me Chrome Dome. My name's Mike. How you doing? Is that great to talk about stuff like that? Is that why you say I'm only 8 years old? But I am not. I have a lot to say, and that has the blot, snot attitude.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Mike Matthews here. And so many things going on today on this Sunday. I have to say,
Mike's
I'm getting excited
Daily
about my little trip.
Podcast.
Taking a little trip to Mount Shasta. And I'm looking forward to that. But there's lots to do beforehand, before a big trip. And I'm finding, I'm like, did I forget that? I forgot that. Oh, I forget. Am I going to have time to do this? Am I going to have time to do that? And all of that. Now, the nice thing is it's a drive. We're going to be driving to our destination instead of flying. Flying gets to be annoying because you got to, are they going to let me take this on board? Or am I going to have to throw it out? As soon as I get to the line and the guy checks it and he says, no, you got to throw that out. You got to chuck it. And so much stuff gets discarded. What happens to all of that? Does it just go into the trash? Does the TSA use it for something later on? It says here that Mr. James Earl Jones, the most incredible voice in Hollywood, is retiring from being the voice of Darth Vader. 40 years he's been doing it. He's 91 now. Wow. He is the undisputed Darth Vader. He has served as the multi-generational villain in his retirement. However, that's really been him in all those movies. All of those movies. Most of them I refuse to watch.
And here's today's podcast picture.
Speaking of great men behind microphones, yours truly behind one there in that picture. See it at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Picture yesterday was of Basil the Boxer at Cold Canyon Lake as it dried up for like the last time. And he barked and chased some things. It was like, oh, look at this huge area of land I haven't run around on yet. It was a fun time. But yes, I took this picture yesterday, I think. So see that and all the other podcast pictures at MikesDailyPodcast.com. That's right, Basil. All fun times we had. So many fun times. And he'd give me that crazy eye. And then he'd say, Mike Matthews, James Earl Jones. He has signed over the rights to his voice. What? Via artificial intelligence in future film iterations of the character, as he wished to keep Vader alive. He had mentioned he was looking into winding down this particular character. He has voiced the Star Wars character since its inception in 1977. He was recently in the new Disney Plus Obi-Wan Kenobi series. His return to the role was well liked and widely praised by fans of the show. The newly restored Court Theater on Broadway was renamed in his honor. And there was a big ceremony that happened recently. He says that I don't know how. It doesn't say anywhere in this article how they're going to do that. Artificial intelligence, his voice in the future. That's pretty crazy. And here is something I've been hearing a lot of people on the right screaming and crying and making a bit of the noise with the gnashing of teeth and all of that. Worried that the good-looking Gavin Newsom, the good-looking Gavin DeGraw, Tyson Foods, Rosdale, DeGrasse Tyson, Newsom is not going to run for president. He will not run for president in 2024, in part due to his close recall election that he had last year. And I am trying multiple ways to open this article. It is not letting me on this awful computer here at Cafe Anyway. Somewhere in Podcaster Valley, the last place on earth. So it says that he is not going to... I can't find out why. Let's see. Will any of these people not let me... Republicans went all in trying to recall the Democrat in September. They gave it their best shot and came up well short. This according to Yahoo News. So was the last article. Oh my gosh. That gets Republicans in such an uproar that he might run. Oh my gosh. That a lot of women are going to vote for him. That's what they say. Are going to run away. Oh, ay. There is a lot of stuff going on with, if he did run for president, his possible opponent, Donald Trump. For an extraordinarily litigious character, Donald Trump didn't have a good week last week. On Wednesday, New York Attorney General Letitia James announced a $250 million lawsuit against him and 3 of his children. That began a year-long investigation. The 222-page civil suit filed by James claims to be a conclusive debunking of the idea that Donald Trump is a business mastermind, a myth that is central to his brand. As we go outside a cafe anyway, where you're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. If she prevails in court, the Trump's family business may be in ruins. This according to the Financial Times.
Oh yeah, how much? A lot. So
it isn't the only legal blow Trump was dealt this week. A U.S. appeals court decided to allow the Department of Justice to continue its investigation into classified documents seized by the FBI from the former president's Mar-a-Lago estate.
That's enough. Put down the mic.
And FT.com is where that is from. Also, what's wrong with that transition? Everything? Okay. Media Insider says, BusinessInsider.com, for those who haven't done creative deals with Netflix, its armies of data scientists and technologists have taken on an almost mythic power, purportedly spinning audience data into clear-cut decisions about creative projects. Do you ever do feedback? I don't know that many people that do the feedback. They just get out of it. I hate how Netflix immediately starts a new movie or a new TV show before you're even done. Like, let's say you're done watching a whole series. You've binged watched. It immediately starts a trailer for something else. And unless you're really savvy and know what button to press, you're going to sit there and watch the whole thing. Netflix knows this.
Wow.
TV and film executive teams are assigned staffers from what Netflix calls its Content Strategy and Analysis Team, or CS&A. CS&A researchers help creative execs make decisions on whether to acquire or produce a particular project. Compared to similar teams at traditional production companies and Hollywood studios and networks, Netflix's CS&A execs have more of a front row seat in creative discussions. It was funny how Larry David portrayed the Netflix crew, the people that you need to pitch to when you go to Netflix. And there's like one of every minority. And minorities within minorities represented on the team. But then sitting there off to the right is some good-looking young guy with a graying beard. Looks like a techie rich guy with the typical techie shirt, like a collared shirt with a little bit of a design of some sort that's all pressed and looks nice. And they're usually of a slimmer nature. The question of whether to renew a series is where discussions can get contentious. Hits like Shonda Rhimes produced Bridgerton or The Witcher are no-brainers, but any other show on the service is a fight. I'm sure that does not include Stranger Things. An exec said the bar is so high. Sometimes the data scientists need a little convincing from series execs to help a show on the bubble get a shot at another season. Who knows if that is exactly what is also happening at places like Amazon Prime and their streaming service, or Disney Plus, or the Paramount one, or the HBO one, or all the other ones.
Right?
But there you go. Outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcaster Valley, Mike Matthews saying there you go, which he likes to do. There you go. Look who's here. Hi, Mike. It's Benita the Rodeo Queen. How y'all doing?
It's a Disgruntled Fiddle Player. Tell you what.
What?
I remember the days when you and I used to be on the radio talking together and having a good time.
Oh, I remember those times. Disgruntled Fiddle Player, yes. And I'd get some interesting people calling me. Back when I was on that country station in Ventura. We'll hear a clip from one of those moments, one of those times when I was doing that show, the Hey Santa Fe Cafe. But I was thinking about epic phone calls and calls that you make with people, calls that you have, or conversations, maybe not on the phone, but just in general, that are so epic, they stick in your mind years and years later. They're epic to you. I was thinking about a conversation after I got let go during the last big recession and economic flattening bear market, where all these companies started letting people go, which companies are starting to do now. And I got let go from this job that I'd moved across the country, all the way from one end of the country to the other, to take this job and shove it. But they told me to leave. So they said, take this employee and kick him to the curb. And I remember I called somebody that I had worked with a few years earlier. This guy had gone to my wedding. I was still married at the time. And he and I had this talk, and it was interesting because I was walking around this business park, this beautiful, huge business park that they have in Huntsville, Alabama. And I'm walking, and I'm talking to this friend of mine on my phone, got my earbuds in, or whatever they were called back then. And I'm talking to him. This is like 2008, 2009. And this I almost remember it vividly. And I was thinking about it the other morning when I couldn't sleep, because I always wake up at 5 in the morning for some reason now. It's what happens when you hit 53. I've been 53 for a while. Maybe this is what happens in the precursor to turning to 54. But he and I were discussing people that we used to work for that we realized, oh my gosh, how did we deal with that guy? He was such a pompous pumphead, whatever you want to call him. Pompous pumpkin? I don't know. We're getting into pumpkin season. That name slipped into my brain just then. But also we were discussing people that meant a lot to us, talking about the business of radio. Did we want to stay in it? He had left radio at that point, but he went back in. I left radio, got back into it. I'm in radio now. I'm an operations manager for 5 radio stations in the San Francisco Bay Area. He used to work in the Bay Area, and I was so envious of him that he worked at the Bay Area. He had left this job that we worked at in Ventura, this radio station, and moved up to the Bay Area. Now I'm in the Bay Area and working in radio. So it's weird how things turned. At the time, he and I were lamenting radio. I was pretty sore because I got let go. he was sore about other stuff having to do with radio. But then we were discussing his father had passed away recently, and he was very close to him. And one night, I guess a couple days after that had all happened, he's sitting there watching the Blues Brothers, and he sees my dad. My dad was in a scene in the Blues Brothers, in that lounge scene. He was actually in another John Belushi movie called Continental Divide, which I believe is the last, don't know for sure, I'm pretty sure that it was the last John Belushi movie that he made. But my dad actually has a speaking part, a small sentence that he says in the movie that the director gave. If a director sees you and you're an extra in the movie and he says you're going to say this line, well, he's just giving you a paycheck for the rest of your life, basically. And Dad got a little paycheck off of that movie, Continental Divide. So my friend actually was watching Continental Divide. He said, I saw your dad. I remember that scene you were telling me about. And there he was. And it was sad because my dad had passed away at that point too. So we were talking about that. And actually the anniversary of my dad's passing was actually just a few days ago. So this epic conversation popped into my mind, and probably did because of my dad's the anniversary of his passing. But it's interesting, isn't it, how we remember things so vividly, what we remember and what we forget. We forget, like, oh, where'd my keys go? Where'd I put my smartphone? I wish my smartphone was smarter than, or I was smarter than my smartphone, because my smartphone will tell me where it is if somebody calls it. That's all. Look who else is here.
Hello, Mike. I make the delicious root beer house right now.
Thank you, Brewmaster. That's so good. I finished the whole thing. What's in that?
I don't know. I just forgot.
See, we forget what we put in the root beer, even. Gosh. That's crazy. Time now for a segment that we do on this show, on this podcast, called Let's Go Back with Matthews. I am Mike Matthews. That's therefore why the name. Okay, let's go back to when I was doing the country show, the country Santa Fe Cafe thing. And we'll go over here. This is a recent one that I found, a recent cassette. So let me do this little thing here and mute that and that and that. And here we go. Oh, look, it's John Ritter.
He had French fried potatoes with mustard. I reckon they're pretty good.
Wow, you could have played both parts.
The John Ritter, the little bit of John Ritter that I have on tape. That's also on my website, MikesDailyPodcast.com.
100.7 KHAY with KA's Matt Michaels.
And one of your papers published in Scientific American. What's it on?
The corollary interrelationships between graviton physiometrics and fungoid particles.
Wow.
What that boils down to in layman's language is life is a fuzzy apple.
Life is a fuzzy apple?
That's what it boils down to, yeah.
Life is is that true?
I don't know, you have to read the paper to understand it.
Oh. Alan Jackson, I'll Go On Loving You, Martina McBride's New and Where Would You Be Before That, Reba McEntire next, and the KH Santa Fe Cafe, and another chance to pick up tickets to the ACM Awards as we walk out to the Map
Yeah, where to, Matt?
Felix, the bus driver, taking us to the KH Santa Fe Cafe.
If this thing goes less than 50 miles an hour, my bladder's gonna explode.
That's why I wear goggles on these trips.
Life is a fuzzy apple. That was Ron. Ron, I don't think is with us anymore. I'd be very shocked if he is, since that was a recording from 20 years ago. Ron was a heavy smoker. And he would call me every night, as you could probably tell. And he would call me every night, and we would say something goofy like that, and I'd always have to start recording right away. Otherwise, I'd miss it. And it was hard for him to to capture the magic yet again and do it again. But he sent me several items of clothing that I still have today. Goofy shirts is what he sent me. Goofy shirts and hats and sweaters, which I still have. One of them says on it, A2 Doofus. Another said something like, is it just me, or am I hanging out with a gang of idiots? I know there's an... Oh, yes. He gave me a t-shirt. I'm not wearing it today, but the t-shirt said, Matthewology, the study of Matt. I don't know. I thought it was funny. And he did too. And he also sent me a 2 CD box set of Spike Jones, the orchestral performer who did songs like All I Want for Christmas Is My 2 Front Teeth. And I don't know. There's some other ones he did that were huge. But yeah, he was a big artist at the time. Did goofy, humorous songs with the orchestra performing live and doing an amazing job. So that was Ron from 2003. And that was us going out to the K Santa Fe Cafe.
By listening to the K Santa Fe Cafe, you've arrived like this K Cafe caller.
Don't, your heart's not in it, don't kiss me. Not familiar at all?
If your heart's not in it, don't waste my time. Is it called Don't Waste My Time heard in the song?
Yeah.
Then that is the new group called Little Big Town.
Yes, that's it.
It's actually 2 girls and 2 guys in this group.
Okay, so what are they called again?
Little Big Town.
Okay.
There you go.
Santa Fe Cafe. K-H-A-Y.
That was your job as a disc jockey. You know, nowadays you got Shazam, or you got that app on your phone that usually if you do a Google search and you press the little microphone and there's a what song is this, it can tell you what song it. Well, back then you just called the DJ 20 years ago. This was just 20 years ago, and people would call up and say, hey, what's that song that da-da-da-da-da? And you would have to rack your brain trying to figure it out. But that was what my main job was, and I somehow succeeded. Little Big Town, by the way, went on to be big country group. They had some crossovers too. I can't think of any other stuff at the moment, but there you go. All right, thank you for listening to that little indulging me for that segment called Let's Go Back with Matthews. And now finally the last segment called Mike Matthews New Tunes Feud. 2 new songs gonna battle it out. And you tell me which one you like better. How's that go? That's a good idea, isn't it? Okay. These have been sent to MikesDailyPodcast at gmail.com. That's my website or my email. My website is MikesDailyPodcast.com. This is a band called Boy and Bear. Hi, friends. Our brand new single, Just to Be Kind, is out into the world today. You can check it out here. Okay, I'm going to click here. Hopefully not get a virus. And then I'm going to play it on YouTube. Aha.
No, it's not.
Just to Be Kind, Boy and Bear.
Love you more than you know. Speaking out loud, I get scared sometimes. That maybe I'm best alone. So if I had to, I'd let you go. Just to be kind, I'd let you go.
Wow. Boy and Bear. Nice. I am very impressed. That video was pretty interesting, too. There was a gal in the video, young lady, who looked a little like, what's her name from Handmaid's Tale? The Handmaiden's Tale, the thing with the Mad Men. Her, that actress kind of looked like her, but like a younger version. This is, I don't know. It's the best way I can describe it, but you can look it up and see for yourself. Okay, and then they're up against a band called Peel Dream Magazine. And this is a song called Not in the Band. All right, let's listen to Not in the Band. It looks as if it is playing. Oh, here we go. Oh. Here it is. action there. Not in the band. Ah, a little bit of the flute playing. Peel Dream Magazine. So which one do you like better, Boy and Bear or Pear? Peel Dream Magazine. You can call me at the number 336 Daily. That's 3 + 3 = 6. As in Mike Matthews, Daily as in what this podcast is. I don't know if I'm going to be doing a podcast the rest of the week with all the craziness of getting ready for my trip, but you will know for sure when I get back, because I will do a podcast and tell you all about Doc Happy the horse, any other interesting phone call conversations that have sprung to my brain, or anything else interesting in the world that might tickle your fancy. You'll hear it all right here on Mike's Daily Podcast. And with more ways to reach me, it is A Frame.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Email Mike now at MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!